Kamala Harris is fast becoming the butt of everyone's jokes. Far from the formidable and strong leader she claims to be, Kamala Harris's word salads, lies, and recent accent changes expose her as a clumsy caricature everyone is struggling to take seriously. Sky News All Stars Rita Panahi, Chris Kenny, and Andrew Bolt take a look at Kamala's latest gaffes that have the world laughing. Kamala Harris was touted as the great new hope for the Democrats, the antidote to Joe Biden's stumbles and mumbles. But so far, Kamala Harris is just Joe Biden in lipstick. The US presidential candidate has followed in her boss's footsteps and is making a fool of herself every chance she gets. Her most recent gaffe was humiliating accent switches depending on her audience, reveals Sky News All-Star Rita Panahi.
Welcome back. Now it's time for Lefties Losing It, and she's done it again. We've brought you Kamala's array of accents previously, but this next one may be my favourite. Listen to how Kamala Harris, who is of Jamaican, Indian and Irish descent and grew up in California and Canada, listen to how she spoke earlier today.
You better thank a union member for the 5-day work week. You better thank a union member for sick leave. You better thank a union member for paid leave. You better thank a union member for vacation time.
Oh, how many accents are we going to hear from her in this campaign? Well, we got 2 in just a few hours today. Let's hear her. Let's hear how she spoke in Pittsburgh and then Boston. See if you can detect the subtle difference.
So, friends, 64 days. Let's just get through the next 64 days. How about that?
Meryl Streep, eat your heart out. Kamala is so authentic. But then wanting authenticity and consistency from Kamala is just asking for trouble.
Former White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer agrees, saying this stunt is demeaning to voters.
But Kamala Harris speaking in different accents depending on her audience, to me, it is part of it. It is part of it. No core beliefs. She's just pandering. Why? Who else does that?
Well, let me quote you back to you. I believe that you coined the phrase shapeshifter. And it's not just her policies, but now you're right, it's her accents. And it's pandering at its worst. It's amazing that it doesn't get the attention that it should, because any other politician that did what she did, not only on her issues, but clearly now in the tone of voice that she uses, it's insulting to the American people. It's demeaning to voters. And frankly, I can't believe that someone thinks in this day and age with video that you can get away with it. But this is at least I think the 3rd time that she has done this. So it's not just the issues that she's a shapeshifter on, but it's actually her accents. And in any other political world, this would be a story. And frankly, it would be insulting, the idea that you pick up an accent and make it sound like you're one of them.
It shows no real sense of self either. You cannot imagine Donald Trump changing his accent depending on the mob he's with.
A commentator on X called Kamala Harris the fakest human that has ever lived, after showing the footage of her accent changes merely hours apart in Detroit and then Pittsburgh.
You better thank a union member for sick leave. You better thank a union member for paid leave. You better thank a union member for vacation time. Because what we know, thank unions for sick leave. Thank unions for paid family leave. Thank unions for your vacation time.
And when asked about the strange accent phenomenon, White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre lost it at Fox News reporter Peter Doocy.
A different topic. Since when does the Vice President have what sounds like a Southern accent?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Well,
I mean, this is...
she was talking about unions in Detroit using one tone of voice.
Is this something that you
Same
think...
line.
Okay, Peter.
That she used the same line in Pittsburgh, and it sounded like she at least had some kind of a southern drawl.
I mean, do you hear the question that you're... I mean, do you think Americans seriously think that this is an important question? They care... You know what they care about? They care about the economy. They care about lowering costs. They care about health care. That's what Americans care about.
So
that's what they want to hear.
This is something...
They care about, your colleague just asked me about, basically we talked about, went back and forth about democracy and freedom. That's what they care about. I'm not even going to entertain some question about the president. It's just, hearing it sounds so ridiculous.
Well, but hearing it is...
The question, I'm talking about the questions is just insane.
Is that how she talks in meetings here?
I'm just... Peter, we're moving on. We're still moving on.
On top of Kamala's latest accent humiliation, the presidential candidate is being mocked for repeating her favourite line of being unburdened, reveals Sky News All-Stars Chris Kenny and Kristen Tate.
I kind of love this and I loathe it, and that is my favourite phrase, this ridiculous line that Kamala's gone on about for forever in an embarrassing way. Well, she resorted to that again. Have a look.
We have dreams. We can see what is possible, unburdened by what has been.
There we are. Kristen, we're still unburdened by what has been.
More deep thoughts with Kamala Harris. I mean, that line has become a meme, and she still can't restrain herself from saying it. She just can't help herself. But this is a woman that is completely incapable of speaking off the cuff or answering any real questions. She is a figure built on cliches and word salads. And that is going to be the challenge for her handlers leading into November is, can they get through without her really showing any substance and just spouting off these strange bumper sticker cliche sayings like the unburdened thing. And they might just pull it off, Chris, because
that's the worry.
Not that long now before they start casting their votes.
And the mockery keeps coming, with Andrew Bolt and Sean Spicer still ripping Kamala Harris apart for that CNN interview.
That CNN interview that Kamala Harris finally agreed to, the only one she's given in a month and a half now as candidate. What did you make of it?
I mean, it was embarrassing, to be honest with you. I think it was 50-50. I was embarrassed for CNN, who likes to talk about themselves as a legitimate news organization. I mean, on a number of fronts, it was embarrassing, the lack of follow-up, the issues that were covered, the length and time. And let's be clear, this was, I'll speak in language the left likes to talk about, their pronouns. This was supposed to be her interview, and it ended up being their interview. It was kind of pathetic that she couldn't handle a one-on-one. It looked like a mix between a parent-teacher-student conference that you have for a child and then a deposition. But she kept going back to, my values haven't changed. Well, then what did change? But on every question that she was asked, it was so staged, phony, and inauthentic. I think that the funny part about that, Andrew, is, number one, you realize why they don't do them often. Number two, I don't think you'll see another one again, at least not before the September 10th debate. And number three is, it just continued to reveal how inauthentic she is. I think she did more damage than good by this interview. There were so many voters that I talked to that said, I was on the fence to vote for her. I don't like Trump. I just can't vote for her now. She really did some damage with that interview.
And even CNN couldn't deny the lies of Kamala Harris, fact-checking her fluid stance on fracking, reveals Sky News All-Star Brad Palumbo.
Welcome back. Well, after avoiding the media for almost 6 weeks, Kamala Harris finally gave an interview, of course, not without her support pet, Tim Walz.
And the interview was so bad, even the liberal US media over at CNN fact-checked her.
Fact check bottom line, Abby, is that she did not actually make clear at a 2020 debate that she had changed her previous support for a fracking ban. Here's what she said at a CNN climate town hall in 2019.
Will you commit to implementing a federal ban on fracking your first day in office, adding the United States to the list of countries who have banned this devastating practice?
There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So, yeah.
So listen to what she actually said in that 2020 debate.
Joe Biden will not end fracking. He has been very clear about that. I will repeat, and the American people know, that Joe Biden will not ban fracking.
I certainly did not hear anywhere in there Kamala Harris saying that she personally had abandoned her previously expressed 2019 view.
Joining us now is Based Politics podcast co-host Brad Palumbo. Brad, great to see you. You know you're in trouble when the Democrat-friendly CNN is now fact-checking you.
Yeah, a Democrat politician has to tell a real whopper to get fact-checked by CNN, but that's how absurd and gaslighty the claim by Kamala Harris that my values have stayed the same that she said in her CNN interview is, because she's flip-flopped totally on fracking, banning fracking, the energy production that's key to swing state voters in places like Pennsylvania for jobs in their local economy, but she's also flip-flopped on healthcare policy, on many things from her 2020 presidential campaign, flip-flopped on defunding the police, on immigration policies. There are so many flip-flops, and of course people can change their mind, but she doesn't appear to actually have had any sort of heartfelt rethinking of the issues. It's just cynical politics, and it's really quite funny that it's so blatant that even CNN is calling her out for it, because they tend to give Democratic politicians every possible benefit of the doubt and every possible wiggle room.
In another humiliating gaffe that's drawing mockery, Kamala Harris said freedom of speech is a privilege, not a right.
He has lost his privileges and it should be taken down. And the bottom line is that you can't say that you have one rule for Facebook and you have a different rule for Twitter. The same rule has to apply, which is that there has to be a responsibility that is placed on these social media sites to understand their power. They are directly speaking to millions and millions of people without any level of oversight or regulation, and that has to stop.
This Twitter user slammed the VP, saying Kamala Harris wrongly says freedom of speech is a privilege when it's actually a right clearly defined in the First Amendment. The fact Kamala doesn't know this says everything.